Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Just Call Me Viv. If this is your first time here, hi, I'm Vivian, but you can call me Viv. And this podcast is really about my journey and our journey collectively as women in the middle, in midlife, and the messy parts of life and our growth. So, welcome if this is your first time joining me. Um, so, Today, I really want to talk about the word jamona, and it's spelled Jamona. And if you're Puerto Rican or from the Caribbean, in many Caribbean countries, Spanish-speaking Caribbean countries, it's a word that's used for a woman who's never been married. And the idea for this topic really came from my last podcast, which was about being an older woman and never having been married. And I covered a little bit about the data on this growing trend of women who are older and have never been married. But the idea of the word jamona came up in my mind. And if you grew up in a Puerto Rican household, you've probably heard it thrown around at some point. And sometimes it's said in a teasing way, and other times it's meant to be an insult from well-meaning family members and sometimes not so well-meaning family members. They'll say like, "Y tú todavía jamona," and it's said with that tone that's both playful and judgmental at once, no filter whatsoever. And it's as if being single past a certain age means that your worth has expired. And I'm here to tell you something different. I've been thinking a lot about that word and reflecting a lot on that word. And this podcast, in many ways, is meant to reclaim the word jamona, not as an insult, but as part of an identity, a badge or a vibe. I'm 50, I've never been married. And because I would say, like in my Jamona era, let me tell you, it's glorious. Now I've looked for the origins of the word, trying to understand where this idea came from, or to refer to a single woman, a woman who's never been married, I should say, as a ham. And some people say it comes from this idea of shelf life, like a ham that's been sitting for too long. And others say it's because jamona, the word, was used to describe a plump or buxom woman. Una jamona bien buena, they might say. A woman with meat on her bones or curves or substance. I like that. Either way, somewhere along the line, the word got twisted into something meant to shame a woman who's never been married. And that's what that aspect of our culture and society does so well. It takes the very things that makes us as women powerful and turns them into something to fear or ridicule. And I remember one of my favorite books back in college, Esmeralda Santiago, when I was Puerto Rican. And there's a part in the book where her father uses the word as an insult. And again, it's meant to sort of make us feel ashamed or embarrassed about our marital status as women. And in reference, or in contrast, I should say, a man who's never been married or who never marries is lucky, right? But a woman who doesn't is jamona. She's expired, undesirable, forgotten, like she failed her life's purpose, as if our only purpose in this world is to marry and bear children. And you see it even now that the double standard runs deep. Now, listen, I'm 50 and I'm not past the idea of getting married. I really do believe in love and I believe in marriage. But I think those things don't define who you are or your worth or your value, especially as a woman. So a single man who's in his 40s, he's still a catch, right? He's still marriage material. A single woman who's still single at 40, well, I don't want to say single because I think I don't want to conflate the two. Being single doesn't mean jamona, right? But if you're a 40-year-old woman who's never been married, the tone shifts, the energy shifts. And as women, we don't have to continue carrying that energy. For me, being a Jamona isn't about a loss. It's about liberation. It's about waking up in the morning and knowing the bed is mine. I'm not saying that I wouldn't mind sharing that bed, you know. It's all about lighting candles that smell like vanilla and cedarwood and pouring a glass of wine on a Tuesday and feeling no rush to explain my life to anyone. And it's about being whole without needing someone else to make me so. Because Jamona doesn't mean unwanted. It means that I'm not compromising on my values. The man that I welcome into my life is going to complement me. And it's not because I need him. It's because I want him in my life, I should say. He compliments me in a way that and he meets a need that I can't meet for myself. So when the term Jamona is thrown around, I want you to think of, if you're in that state or that phase of your life, that you're choosing peace over pressure, you're choosing growth over settling, and joy over judgment. And I think about all my ancestors, all the women, las mujeres fuertes que vinieron antes, all the women that came before me. They were told that their value was in what they could give: a husband, their children, a home. But imagine if these women had been told their value was simply in being, existing, in laughing and creating and thriving in who they are. And that's the version of Jamona I want to leave behind for my daughter, for my nieces, for every woman coming up behind me. Because as I get older, as I mature, I realize that aging as a woman in this world, especially as a Latina woman, is radical. We're told to fight the clock, to hide the gray, to stay small. But what if we didn't? What if aging was an act of defiance and beauty? And I say that all the time. I'm a 50-year-old woman. I don't feel 50. I don't feel like I have to accept what the world has defined as what a 50-year-old woman should be or behave like. I'm in my Jamona era, and I'm saying that I'm not waiting for permission to shine. I'm not waiting for a relationship, a title, or a man to validate my timeline. And I'm not expired. I'm seasoned. I'm not a leftover. I'm layered. And there's a richness to women who've lived, who've loved, who've healed. And that's the flavor of life, el sazon. And that's Jamona energy. And I'm reclaiming it, Jamona energy. And to every woman listening, maybe you've been called a Jamona, or maybe you've been told that you're expired, that at your age, you're not going to ever get married or find someone to commit to you. Or maybe you've whispered it to yourself when the loneliness has crept in. And I want you to really hear me out on this, that you're not behind, and you're not less than, and you're not unfinished. You're simply in your Jamona era. I want you to embrace that Jamona energy. And that means you're becoming. You're owning your time, your choices, your story, because the real tragedy isn't being single, it's being silenced. And we're done with that. And this is the era of women who know their worth, who build their own tables, they cook their own meals and pour their own wine and light their own candles. So yeah, you can call us Jamona. I'll accept it, because Jamona means being free. It means being fabulous. It means being who I am. So I want you to reclaim it. And if you've resonated